Hello, my name's Tena Davies. I'm a clinical psychologist based in Melbourne, Australia. And anyone in Melbourne will know right now is a really difficult time because we're all going through stage 4 lockdown, and the roadmap, while sensible, also looks to be long. A lot of people are reporting increased symptoms in depression and anxiety, which is perfectly normal given the circumstances. I refer to lockdown as a reverse behavioral activation program. Now, let me explain what this means. Let's start with what behavioral activation means. So, behavioral activation is a behavioral intervention for depression. And it's very, very simple. It's just increase in pleasurable events, increase in achievement, increase in physical and social activity. And of course, lockdown is the reverse of that. So we're trying to decrease movement, and what ends up happening is everybody's world shrinks. And that's why levels of depression have gone up, because it's a reverse behavioral activation program. So what can you do to kind of manage this given the limitations that we face currently? Well, it's trying to find some ways around this. So it's trying to increase those pleasurable activities by increasing novelty, going to different places, even within your 5Ks, increasing achievement. That's one that's not location or restriction dependent quite as much. Increasing physical activity, even if it's just using apps or programs within your home, and increasing socializing, which is harder. So let me go through all 4 of these and just give you some ideas. So with the increasing pleasurable events, if you think about what people really enjoy, often they will say they love going on a holiday. And usually holidays are enjoyable because they introduce a lot of novelty, a lot of seeing different things you haven't seen before. There's always novelty around the corner, and that keeps you mindful and present and really interested. So one way to increase pleasurable events or activities is to introduce novelty. So there's all kinds of things you can do online. You know, there's tours of museums, there's the Phillip Island penguins, just things you haven't seen before, any kind of novelty. One thing that I'm personally doing is I'm just going on a slightly different walk most days. The other day I went on a walk 3 blocks in a different direction from my work and found this beautiful double-story terrace house, and that made my day. And then there's also increases in achievement. So the increases in achievement is just setting a goal and smashing that goal in some way. So it doesn't need to be a weight loss goal. It can really be anything, you know, reading a book, just getting stuck into some project that is meaningful to you. It's not busy work, it's actually achieving something that's really significant, so something that will make you proud or interested. And that also increases positive mood because then you feel good about yourself. Then physical activities. So yes, like, you know, the different apps, it could be just different walks, setting a jogging goal, just anything. And finally, the social activity one, and this is a harder one in lockdown because exactly what we're supposed to be not doing is socializing. Now, we're still allowed to socialize with one person outdoors wearing a mask, so that is something you can do, and you can introduce novelty in that way by meeting a different friend and going for a different walk, maybe asking them what kind of walks do they go on, where do they like to go. You can get ideas from other people, take turns going different places. But I find the thing that increases the social activity the most and makes it the best is actually increasing meaningful social activity. So one of the things my patients often say, I don't want to increase my social activity because all I'm doing is having more Zoom calls and I'm just screened out, and hey, that's fair enough. So there's some different things that you can do. Yes, you can go on those walks, but if you don't have people within 5Ks, that does become harder. So one is to speak on the phone. I know it's a small thing, but at least you are not having the screen time. But the bigger one is really around trying to have those more meaningful conversations. One thing I've done with a really good friend of mine is questions to ask best friends that you can Google online. And we've asked each other those sorts of questions. I have another friend that's really interested in politics, so I've called her. another friend that I went to uni with, and we've taken turns sending each other photos from uni, and then that prompts a conversation. So nostalgia, those sorts of things. Trying to, in some ways, plan those social interactions a little bit more. It doesn't have to be forced. You don't have to follow an agenda, but the reality is there's not a lot going on. You can't really just rely on sort of saying, oh, what have you been up to? And people aren't going to tell you that they just came back from Saint-Tropez. It's not going to happen. So it sort of makes that social interaction a little bit more interesting if you plan it a little bit. And anything kind of structured, like joining or starting an online book club, reading a book with a friend. Netflix has a feature, I think, where you can co-watch things. Just anything to have a topic to kind of center around will also help. So just to recap, the things that will improve mood are some really simple things. Increasing pleasurable events, and usually the novelty helps with that. Increases in achievement, physical activity, and social activity. I hope this has given you some food for thought. Thank you very much for your time.